We are on Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Bet 21b2, and we went all the way to the Gemara. Yeah. Okay. So the Gemara says, "Afa Nazir lo hu Hashem." We were discussing the idea of the various times that a person could get multiple Makkot for one action, and the Mishnah brought. If we turn back to Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph, right at the bottom, right? The Mishnah was talking about the cases of the three different types of cases of Nazir, right? And then the Gemara talked about after the Mishnah talked about after the three cases of Nazir. The Mishnah talked about Haya Lovesh Bekilayim, right? The guy's wearing Kilayim. We switched to the case of Kilayim, and the Mishnah said on the case of Kilayim that if you each time you say it, Loveshu poshet, okay? So each time you're Hayava kol achat ve'echat. All right. So now we are up to the Gemara. The Gemara brought the case of Chanina bar Chachinai, and it mentioned that there are eight different types of Malkut that the person could possibly transgress. And then the Gemara asked, well, what do you mean? Isn't there one more? He asked. Isn't there also this extra thing that he could be wearing kilayim? And the Gemara says, what does that have to do with the Isur of being Choresh Telem? And on that, he asked back, he says, well, there's also other ones that are here that he's in an area which is not Tameh, so that's also Eno Min Hashem. So why is it that you're asking the question on me? That was what we got up to last time. Okay. So the Gemara said as follows.
The first paragraph, and then that was it.
Yeah. We're at the bottom. Yeah. The Gemara said that. Yesh Choresh Telem. The Gemara says, Am Rabbi Yanai. Yeah. We talked about a case where a person is planting kilayim in a vineyard. Am Rabbi Yanai. Behabura nimnu v'gamru. When they were all together, when everyone got together, they decided to pass some laws. Now, if you take a look, what is he talking about with chabura? So the Gemara over here, Rashi says, last word online. You see, chabura, nir ali yom asifa. It was a day where they gathered. That's what chabura means. Or yom va'ad haya lahem shekorim chabura. Or it was a day where they all got together and they called it chabura. What's the difference between the first opinion and Rashi and the second? Sounds almost identical. Rashi is saying either that the day was called, that was the Yom Asifa, the day of Asifa was called Chabura Day, or Yom Vaday Alehem, or there was a consistent day that they always got together. It wasn't just that one time they were b'Chabura, but they always did, like they got together for Chaburot, okay? Now,
the word Chabura from?
Yeah, that's literally. Okay, now. Sorry?
That's from Chevra.
The root of it comes from the word chaver, which means, or chibur, which means people connecting. Yeah, okay. So he says, B'chabura nimnu v'gamru. They were going back and forth. They took a poll, so to speak, and they decided, Hachofeh b'kilayim lokeh. If someone takes kilayim, and the kilayim is sitting on the ground, okay, and all you do is put some earth on top of it. You just put some, you didn't tamp it down, plant it. All you did was put earth on top of it. That was enough, okay? So if that's the case, right? If that's the case, that's why you could have a scenario where a person is digging a furrow and he's chayav on kilayim. How is he chayav on kilayim for digging a furrow? So we explained that as you're digging this furrow, the earth that's displaced is now covering seeds of wheat that are in a vineyard, and that's going to cause for the grafting of the wheat and the grapes. But that opinion that you could fulfill or transgress one of these isurim by doing that is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yanai, that all it would take to achieve the isur of kilayim is to cover it over with earth. Amale, Rabbi Yochanan said, Lav Mishnatenu, isn't this what we're talking about? Yesh Choresh Telem, Person could have one furrow and one act of plowing a furrow, and the result of it would be that and the result of it would be that that you would fulfill 8 different malkut isurim. Hachoresh b'shor v'chamo v'hen mukdashin v'kelayim b'kerem, and the case was when there's kelayim in the kerem. Hai choresh d'machayem mishum kelayim. This idea that when you plow, you could become, you could do the isur of planting kelayim of these two distinct things together. What's the case? Lav de-michsi b'hadeh v'azil. Is it not that there's seeds on the ground, like seeds for a vineyard and seeds for wheat, just lying together on the ground? And when you're going over with the plow, you're covering those seeds, and therefore you're doing it. If that's the case, then the Mishnah is the one that teaches us this. Why did Rabbi Yanai need to tell us? We had to vote, and this is what we decided. We have an explicit Mishnah that says that that's the case. Amaleh, Rabbi Yanai explained, no. Ilav didilai lecha chaspa. If not for the fact, right? Chaspa means a piece of something that's broken, right? A piece of pottery. It could be a piece of glass. Okay. If not that I picked up, if I lifted it for you, would you have been able to understand what the value of the precious jewel that you'd find underneath? Once I told you that there's an isur of kelayim just by covering it over with earth, then you were able to understand that that's what the Mishnah meant when it said choresh b'kelayim, because now you had the ability to interpret the case as a displacement of earth over the other. The Gemara says, Amal Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish said, Rabbi Yochanan. Reish Lakish said, Rabbi Yochanan, right? Ilav the kilsach gavra rabba. Okay, if not for the fact that Rabbi Yanai gave you this kilusin, this honor, okay, hava amina matnitan mani. I would have thought that the opinion of our Mishnah is going to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. The Amar, they said, Mikayem Kelayim, if someone is Mikayem Kelayim, not that you planted Kelayim, but you kept it up. All that it would take is to tend to Kelayim, and then already you'd be over on the Isur. So over here, even though maybe you didn't do something very powerful, but just going and threshing the earth is taking care of a field. So I would have assumed the case was that there was already Kelayim there, and by threshing it, you're making the field and the earth soft and turning it over, so it makes it better. And that's how.
You pull out one weed, you've tended to that.
If that weed is going to pulling it is going to make it grow better, that would seem to be you'd fulfill it as well with Mikayim. Now, Gemara says, my Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Reish Lakish just mentioned the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, which is how he would have explained the opinion of the Mishnah, what the Mishnah's case is, where you could do one furrow and achieve 8 isurim. My Rabbi Akiva, what is this Rabbi Akiva that you're mentioning? That just by tending to Kelayim, that's enough to be over the isur. The Tanya we learn in the Braita, ha-menachesh va-mechafe b'kelayim. If someone pulls out weeds, okay? Ve-mechape b'kelayim, or if someone covers over seeds with kelayim, lokeh. The halacha is he gets malkut. Rabbi Akiva Omer afa mekayem. Rabbi Akiva says even someone who only maintains. Now let's be careful and try and understand. If the first opinion in the Braita is telling you that if you're pulling weeds and if you're covering seeds that you're chayav, when Rabbi Akiva says mekayem, what must he be telling you? Something less than the Tanakama. So it can't be that Mekayem means a person who's pulling weeds. Why? Because that's what the Tanakama says. Is everyone, you guys with me on the logic? The Braita says as follows. If you pull weeds and you cover over seeds, you Mekayem, you fulfill the Isur of Kelayim. Either by pulling the weeds or by covering over the seeds with earth. Okay? That's the Tanakama, the first part of the Braita. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva says, he's saying something else, obviously. And what does he say? Afa mekayem. Even someone that keeps it up, that keeps it. It must be, if Rabbi Akiva is arguing on the Tanakama, he has his own opinion, that he does not mean tending weeds. Because the first guy already said that. You know what it would be like? Let me just give you an example. Imagine I told you, guys, if you carry on Shabbat, you're breaking Shabbat. And Rabbi Mizrahi says, well, let me add a bigger hidush. Also, if you carry on Shabbat, you're breaking Shabbat. He just said the same thing as me. He didn't need to come and add nothing. If there's a Rabbi Akiva in this Braita, and the Tanakama means tending weeds, and Rabbi Akiva comes along and says, no, Afa mekayem. Even if you just maintain it, he must not mean pulling weeds. So what does mekayem mean then? You see?
I thought it could be that the first opinion was that you have to do both of them to do the Isur, or that's not that?
What do you mean?
The first guy, is it possible the first opinion is you have to rip out the weeds and then cover it? You have to do both of them, or is any one of them enough to do the melacha of kilayim?
He's saying two actions versus one.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine. You know why? Because normally, if you're saying this or this, it would say oh. Over here it says vi, but vi could be both. Like if you do this, vi, if you do this. Or it could be if you do this, vi this. It could be either way you could read that. But here in this case, where the two actions are disconnected one from the other, like if you told me, if you covered it over with dirt, vi, you tamped it down, I would understand that those two things could be one and the other. To tell me that you pull weeds and you do the two completely disconnected actions. So therefore, we would automatically assume that it means one or the other and not one and the other. Okay? So when the Gemara says Mekayem, so what's Rabbi Akiva adding? What is he, what's he communicating? So look at Rashi for 1 second. If you take a look about 10 lines down, Hamenachesh v'Hamechape. You see that? Hamenachesh v'Hamechape b'chalaim lokeh Rabbi Akiva omer afa mekayem. Kula Rabbi Akiva ka'amala. This whole Braita is all Rabbi Akiva. Hamenachesh v'Hamechape b'chalaim lokeh de mekayemu. Because by doing that, you are maintaining. She Rabbi Akiva. Because Rabbi Akiva, not Rabbi Akiva. V'hachi mishanile b'moed katan v'rabbanan depligi aleh Rabbi Akiva. The other opinion, which is the rabbis that disagree on Rabbi Akiva, svirlu mechape eno loke. That someone who covers over does not get malkut. Deman de patar b'mekayem patar b'mechape u'menachesh. Oker asavim ra'im, pulling out weeds, bad grasses. So the reading of this Braita is not really the way we have it in front of us. Really, it's not two opinions. It's rather an explanation of the first opinion. So if you cover over kalayim or you pull out weeds, you did avera. Sherebi Akiva Omer. Not Rabbi Akiva Omer. That shin changes it. So Rabbi Akiva says, the reason is because even a Mekayem, even someone who only maintains kilayim and doesn't necessarily plant it, is already enough. Now the Gemara continues. My time, Rabbi Akiva, why does Rabbi Akiva hold this? All you did was you didn't plant it. The pasuk says lo tizra kilayim. The Tanya, because in the Braita, sadecha lo tizra kilayim. The pasuk says, don't in your field plant kilayim. En li ela. If you read that pasuk, what would you assume you're not allowed to do? Plant. It says the word zorea. Mikayem minayin. How do I know? Upholding, maintaining the growth of that kilayim is also asur. Talmud lomar, the pasuk says, behem techa lo tarbiya kilayim, sadecha lo tizra kilayim. When it talks about the animals, mating animals that are crossbreed, right? One animal type to another. So it says your animal lo tarbiya kilayim, sadecha lo tizra kilayim. So since we're talking about over here,
Not doing.
since we compared in the pasuk the kilayim of an animal and the kilayim of wheat and grapes, we're comparing these two kilayim. One kilayim, what does it need in order for the animals to mate and have a baby of a crossbreed? You don't need to do anything. You just need to leave them there together. You need to not separate them during a mating season.
So that's,
okay?
that's the punishment, not separating them.
Oh, so since by an animal it doesn't require an action, all you would need is to allow it to exist in your field passively. So too, when it comes to the kilayim of the kerem, it's similar to the kilayim of the animal.
Passive is also guilty.
Yes, allowing it to grow. Now, what's fascinating here is that the diuk of Rabbi Akiva, to my mind, is actually not explained by this answer of the Gemara. Why? Let's see if anyone could catch this.
Because both of them were the actions of Rabbi Akiva.
What do you mean?
Both is the action of putting dirt on and pulling weeds.
As opposed
I'm not
to?
being passive. I'm not
Oh.
moving the.
The diuk of the Braita that we just read goes much further than Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, Afa mekayem, pull weeds, cover it with dirt, that's enough. What's the proof? Because you look at the animal, what do? You just allowed it to happen. That's completely passive. You're just letting it take place. So in this case, how are you comparing it to a case where the person actually has not done anything at all? Rabbi Akiva should then say, you know what it means to be over kilayim? If something blows into my field and I just don't do anything to stop it from growing, that would be a comparable case to the case of kilayim of behemah. So the Gemara's proof actually goes much further than Rabbi Akiva seems to indicate. All right? Now, let's continue. Amale Ula Rav Nachman. Ula said to Rav Nachman, we had before the case of the Yesh Choresh Telem Echad, and he's over on 8 Isurim, V'lilkinam Mishum Zoreh B'Yom Tov. What about the fact that he planted on Yom Tov? Now remember, we talked about the fact that you are threshing on Yom Tov. The Mishnah mentioned Yom Tov, remember? And that's why that was one of the 8, that you're doing melacha on Yom Tov. But if the case is that there's kilayim, there's seeds that you covered over with dirt, why don't we also get you for a 9th one on the fact that you planted these things, even though it's kilayim, but the fact that you planted these kilayim on Yom Tov. The Gemara says, Amalei answered, Tana v'shayar. It doesn't mean that this is the exhaustive list of all the Isurim that you could potentially have over here. There's going to be other ones too. But, we mentioned 8. These were 8 ones that we did. We covered one of the Isurim of planting, not necessarily all of the Isurim of planting. Amalei, okay? Amalei, he said, Tana katani shmona. The Tana, when he said that you had 8 Isurim, he said you have 8. V'at amret, and you say, Tana v'shayer, you're telling me he said some and he left out some? When do you have a case when you said some and you left out some? When you don't give a number. So as an example, let's say I say, what's Asur on Yom Tov? It's Asur on Yom Tov to light a fire. Doesn't mean that I told you all the things. But if I told you, there are 39 melachot on Shabbat, would you say, that doesn't mean I told you all the melachot. Maybe there's 79 melachot on Shabbat. Then why would you have told me 39? If the Tana went out of his way, not just to say, here's 8 different things I came up with, and really there might be more, I didn't say all of them. That makes sense. But if he told you, there are 8,
There should be 8.
there should be 8. If there's 9, there's a question. Why didn't he say 9? So yes, how could that be? Amar Rava said, what are you talking about? No. Yesh chiluk melachot b'Shabbat. Ve'en chiluk melachot b'Yom Tov. When it comes to Shabbat, there's a separation of melachot. When it comes to Yom Tov, there's not a separation of melachot. So let's take a look at what Rashi explains on what this means. Yesh chiluk melachot. What does that mean? There's no different melachot on Yom Tov. Says Rashi, 4 lines from the bottom. V'imchi en chiluk melachot b'Yom Tov. Im asa shtayim v'shalosh melachot. If a person did 2 or 3 actions, melachot, that were prohibited on the holiday, behe'elem echad, in one forgetting. Okay, hele means I forgot. So let's say, as an example, all of a sudden I forgot it was Shabbat. I thought it was Monday. All right. Now I did 2 or 3 different isurim on Yom Tov. Or asa Yom Tov. Or asa melacha. Or he did a melacha sheyesh ba shtayim. Or he did one melacha that has 2 different isurim, 2 different melachot attached to it. Eno chayav ela achad. A person only gets 1 malkut for Yom Tov. Leman de'amar havara lechalek yatzat. Svirale, he holds, en chiluk melachot b'Yom Tov. That when it comes to Yom Tov, the melachot are not separated into individual melachot. Dibi Yom Tov, because on Yom Tov, lo yatzat ha'avara, when it comes to lighting a fire on Yom Tov, okay, we did not take havara out of the category of what's asur on Yom Tov. So therefore, there's no chiluk melachot. All the melachot are the same. Umanda amar nami havara lelav yatzat. And there's one opinion that holds that we took havara, lighting a fire on Yom Tov. We took it out of the general category of melachot because a person's allowed to cook on Shabbat. V'nafkale, and he learns chiluk melachot mi ve'aseh achat mehenna. If a person did ve'aseh achat mehenna, and he did one of these melachot, hanimili bi'isurei t'itbahen chiyuv chatat. That's referring to an isur that has a chatat. Kigon melachot d'Shabbat dizdonan karet. And if you did them on purpose, you would get karet. V'shigigatan chatat. And if you did it by accident, you bring korban chatat. De'behahi parasha. That when that pasuk where it says ve'asa me'achat mehena, if you did one of these isurim, kamari bechatat. It's talking about chatat. Aval Yom Tov dechiyuv malkutu. But Yom Tov, that there's an obligation of malkut. Ve'en zero dono karet. We never gave you an Isur Karet for breaking Yom Tov. We gave you an Isur Malkut for breaking Yom Tov. If that was the case, En bo chiluk melachot. When do we have a differentiation of each individual melacha? To obligate you on each one, that's with regards to melachot, and if they were done on purpose, they would have karet. Now they have chatat. The Torah came and told you, ve'asa achat me'ele. If you did one of these, it's coming to tell you that for each one and each one and each one, you'd have to get another one. Where is that pasuk said? By chatat, which is only relevant. A chatat is only relevant when you accidentally did something that if you'd done it on purpose, you would have had karet. But by Yom Tov, if you would have done it on purpose, what would the punishment be? Not karet, lashes. So therefore, the whole story of chatat is irrelevant. So the diuk that we have of ve'asa achat mehena, and if you did any one of these, telling you that if you did 1, 2, 3, you would have chatat, we don't have that limud. So therefore, when it comes to Yom Tov, if a person forgot that today was Yom Tov, he thought it was Monday after Yom Tov, and he did 3 melachot, what would he be obligated? 1 malkut.
So either
That's the opinion that holds en chiluk melachot b'Yom Tov. Okay? Is that clear?
Can this only gets 1?
So that's the answer the Gemara's bring over here. Rama Rava, yesh chiluk melachot b'Shabbat, en chiluk melachot b'Yom Tov. Since there's no chiluk melachot b'Yom Tov, so the 2 of Yom Tov that you're talking about are really only 1. The threshing on Yom Tov and the covering and the plowing on Yom Tov, right? The planting and the plowing are really only 1 melacha when it comes to malkut. Fascinating. I don't know if you remember. I asked you a question earlier. How come the Mishnah did not put in Shabbat?
This is why.
Had it put in Shabbat, the number 8 would not be correct.
It goes down. No, it goes less.
Unlimited, no more.
No, remember,
Why?
because since yesh chiluk, since yesh chiluk melachot b'Shabbat, so if he would have plowed this and he would have done plowing and planting, it would have been 2.
It becomes infinite.
No, it would be 2. It would be 2 melachot, but it would not be 9 for on Shabbat. It would not be 8. It would be 9. Okay.
Is there another idea that with Makkot you can't divide them and you can't add them? You don't do 80 Makkot, for example. We learned that in the beginning, no?
You can never do 80 makot. The guy will die.
You can never do 80
The guy will die.
and you can never do
39.
But you could do 39 and you could wait and you could do more malkut later.
If 2 people, by money, but we learned that by monetary things you divide the.
You can't divide the number between 2 people, correct?
And you can't add it, so immediately.
No, you can add it, you just can't add it in one shot.
Okay.
So a person could get 2 hayuvei malkut,
And then he has to do it twice.
but not in one shot. Because you can never do,
My mistake.
you can never even do 40.
39.
39 is the max, okay.
And you can do it in trios.
Sorry?
You can only do it in threes. You can't do 38. It's 36, 39, 33.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be relevant to the numbers of malkut you could get.
You can't like add it up because if by Makkot you don't add it up, if you chayav, you chayav. But I guess that's wrong.
But that's when it's in one chiyuv malkut. Here we're talking about each one as its own separate chiyuv for a separate item. Yeah? Okay, Amaleh, so Ula responded to Rava and he said, Adatehe. Now I understand why you're correct, why we do not have 2 isurim because en chiluk melachot biyom tov. The Gemara says, 1 second. I love that Ula agreed with you, Rava, but 1 second. I don't know if I agree with you. Et Abaya, Rava's constant protagonist / halachic nemesis, says to him, Ve'en chiluk melachot biyom tov? You're telling me that there's no double melachot? You can't have 2 melachot and chiluk melachot biyom tov? Is that true? We learn a Mishnah. Ham vashel gid bechalav biyom tov. If someone cooks a gid arasheh, okay, bechalav in milk, biyom tov on yom tov, ve'achalo and he ate it, lokeh chamesh. He eats, he gets 5 lashes. Lokeh mishum ochel gid. He gets punished for eating the gid arasheh. Ve'lokeh mishum vashel biyom tov. And he gets punished for cooking on yom tov. Shelo letzorech. With no need. Velokeh mishum mevashel gid bechalav, and he gets the punishment of cooking the gid bechalav because the gid is also meat, right? The gid is the vein, the sciatic nerve. Velokeh mishum ochel basar bechalav, and he also gets punished because he ate basar bechalav. So there's the cooking of the meat and the milk, which is asur. There's the eating of the milk and the meat, which is asur. There's the mivashel shelo letzorech. Now let's take a look for 1 second, because this is very interesting. Rashi says, look, see at the bottom, second to bottom line. Lokeh mishum mivashel gid biyom tov umishum mivashel basar b'chalav kasava yesh begidim menoten tam tlata lo tevashel ketivi chad leachila v'chad lehanaa v'chad lebishul b'shechitat chulin. The Gemara over here holds that a gid has the law of meat. There are some opinions that say that a gid, a nerve, okay, a sinew, it does not have a law of meat. Why? Because it has no taste. It has no flavor in and of itself. So there's one opinion that says that it's not considered halachic meat, just the gid. Okay.
What does flavor have to do with it?
It's to decide whether or not this is considered basar bechalav.
Well, but it's derivative of an animal. It's meat.
Milk is also a derivative of an animal.
Well, no. Milk is a product. Not
Sure.
And now if you grind up the bones and turn it into gelatin, some say that's also not, but I don't want to get into that.
Also, good question. So most people will not say that the bones ground, because there's kosher gelatin ground from the bones of kosher animals.
Right.
That gelatin is not meat, it's parv. Why?
It's gone beyond something that would be
Because it's not,
what it is.
because it's pulverized and it doesn't have tam and it's yavishka, it's a lot of different reasons, and it changes its nature when they pulverize it.
So you get 2 wax, one for eating ghee in milk and one for eating meat and milk.
No.
Isn't that
One for eating gid, because gid and asher is asur.
Just
One,
milk.
one
Oh,
for
wow.
eating ghee,
One for eating gid,
milk, and
one for eating gid and milk, because it's meat and milk. One for what's it called? One for cooking something shalol tzorech on Shabbat.
Why not the third one for benefiting from meat and milk together?
Sorry,
Why are they excluding the third one, meat and milk together benefit?
I'm not understanding.
Where does it say benefit?
That's why in the Torah it's mentioned 3 times. One of the 3 is not to benefit from cooking meat and milk together.
Cook it and
No,
sell it.
cooking itself, even if you don't benefit from it.
Right.
Right, that's one.
So cooking, like he says,
Cooking.
shlosha, 3 things. Tlat taktivi, chad la'achila, one to eat, chad la'hana, one is to sell it, and the third one is bishul.
Right, so the chana is the one
I
I was
only
asking
count
about.
4.
Benefits.
You mean the selling,
3.
the hana, yeah?
That's the one I was asking about.
So what? Let me explain.
Yeah.
No, sorry. What we're learning over here is that there's an isur bishul separate to isur achila. That's why we're bringing this derasha. Because if you want to have 5, you have to tell me why it's asur to cook it besides for eating it.
Why, we do or we don't do hana'ah?
Hana is also asur,
I know.
but it's not relevant in our case.
Why?
Because in this case, there is no hana.
You didn't sell it.
No, you didn't sell, you ate it.
Yeah, but you had the benefit of not having to buy Stouffer's chicken today.
That's not what hana means.
Yeah.
If I ate it, every time I eat is also hana. That's not included, that's achila.
Selling.
Yeah, hana means if I sold it. Huh?
Can you count the 5 again?
Sure, let's read it one more time. Loke mishum, what does he get? Loke mishum ochel gid. First one is gid anashe. Even if you did nothing, eating gid anashe is asur.
So that was 1.
One. Loke mishum vashel b'yom tov shelo tzorech. Second thing is I cooked unnecessarily on Yom Tov.
That's 2.
Right? Only cooking for ochel nefesh is allowed on Yom Tov, and this is not ochel nefesh. Okay? Third thing is loke mishum vashel gid b'chalav. I cooked meat and milk together.
Then I
Okay?
ate
V'loke mishum ochel basar b'chalav. I eat basar b'chalav, right? V'loke, you can turn the page. Loke mishum avara. The last one is that I lit the fire to make the thing.
That's not inclusive of cooking for no reason on Yom Tov?
No,
Okay.
no.
Why
aren't they throwing
unnecessarily?
ant
What does
in the,
necessity have to do with it?
Because on Yom Tov, you're allowed to cook.
I understand, but why unnecessarily?
Because if it was necessarily, it wouldn't be asur.
Oh, 5.
That's the point. We're allowed to cook on Yom Tov in order to eat. But when you're cooking something not in order to eat unnecessarily, you're not allowed to light a fire.
What do you mean? Why else did he cook it? He was going to eat it.
Sounds like this guy is trying to win the prize of biggest rasha of the week. Like he wants, instead some people get a mitzvah note, he wants an avera note.
No, but really, where does the unnecessary judgment come in here?
Like
That's a judgment.
Eating gid and doing anything for that is unnecessary.
It's unnecessary because you're not allowed to eat it.
Says the fire to
It's-
cook
it's-
forbidden food is
Yeah,
necessary.
the same way. The same way the cooking. So we took 2 things which are very similar, and we obligated you for both of them: lighting the fire and cooking. Both of them are unnecessary on Yom Tov.
Even double
You see what Abaya just did?
Right. Took 2 actions that were on.
He made chiluk melachot on Yom Tov.
Now, why doesn't this guy punish?
Wait! You're too fast. You're too fast. Let the plane land. What did Abaye say? Abaye said to Rava, "You said en chiluk melachot b'Yom Tov, but you see over here that you get 5 lashes. What are 2 of the 5? 2 of the 5 is cooking unnecessarily and lighting a fire unnecessarily. But if the law is that there's no chiluk melachot b'Yom Tov,
That was 1 action.
then that's 1 action. We should count it as 4. So you see over here from the Mishnah, v'im itan, if you hold. Mishum havara lo mechayav. If you hold like what you just said, mishum havara lo mechayav. Deha'ichayev le mishum bishulo. You can't get him on the lighting the fire if you got him for the cooking. The Gemara says, apik havara, you're right. Take out the lighting, ve'ayil gidan asher shel nivela, and put in eating the gidan asher of a nivela. Right? The last one is when the person had the gidan asher, but it was from an animal that was not slaughtered properly. So that was the fifth one. Was when you was that it was also not kosher. Now this is a very problematic thing we're about to say. We're going to come back to this in just a little bit, okay? Because this point over here is not going to fly. Baruch